Hello traders, I'm going to show you my custom scanner today. We have the market down about 40 S&P points. For recording purposes, I want to state that it is Thursday, March 22nd, 2018. A day after the FOMC statement, the Fed was a little more hawkish than expected. We have the possibility of some trade tariffs, and that also is weighing on the market, along with a debt ceiling extension that needs to take place on Friday. So the market outlook right now is very bearish. The S&P is open about 30 points lower, and they blew through the 100-day moving average. So what do we do with this information? As always, everything has to start with the market. So we have a breakdown below the 100-day moving average. Any bounce will be relatively contained today because that will serve as resistance. So we should really be focusing on the bearish side. I'm going to be looking for some day trades. I'll also point out some swing trades. The scanner can be used for either one very easily. So what I'm going to do in the platform is I'm going to click scanner, which I've already done, and then I'm going to click bearish, which I've already done. There are bullish searches that we run. These are all provided for all users. These are some of my favorite searches. And then I'm also going to click bearish. So these are very easy to access. You can see the losers for the day, the gap downs. You can see pre-earnings, post-earnings. So I'm going to go to pop bear because it is one of my go-to searches for day trades, but really for swing trades. These are great setups for swing trading. And what we're looking for is compressions and horizontal breakdowns through major moving averages or through horizontal support. So I'm going to click on the first symbol, ABBV. I'll mention that you can use the platform on an end of day basis, but as a trader, I like to have real time, and I can get real time data through Tradier or through interactive brokers. We've written into their interface. You can actually trade through the platform as well. You can see all about that, read all about that in other videos or hear about it. I'm going to focus on finding great trades today. So first we're going to use this search, and here is ABBV. You can see that compression up in here, yellow dots at the bottom, and that big breakdown, in fact, through the 100-day moving average. This is a major breakdown. Obviously, there's some news on the stock because it is down $13. But there were opportunities. I'll go to a 5-minute chart early in the day. I'm going to keep looking at some of these other setups here. There's our compression, there's our horizontal support, there's our breakdown. We're through the 100-day moving average. Nice short, very easy to find. So this black line is the 100-day moving average. I can easily toggle on and toggle off, and there are all the moving averages are listed down in this tray right here. So this orange line represents a strength indicator, and it is versus the S&P 500. So you can see how this stock has actually been weak relative to the S&P 500 for a few days. This is a proprietary pressure indicator. Typically, when the stock is going down, you will see negative pressure on it. When it's going up, you will see positive pressure. When we get a divergence like this, where we have a sell signal by the system and we have positive pressure, that is a huge negative. So imagine that this stock has upward pressure, yet it is able to decline. So that adds fuel to the fire, if you will, and we'll look at instances where I like to call it a monkey on your back. The stock has negative pressure, yet it's able to move higher with this monkey on its back. As soon as it sheds that monkey, boom, the stock rallies. This is a very important divergence. The Yellow dots are my squeeze indicator, and they indicate when the stock is in a compression. We trade compressions all the time. A green dot would be when it's breaking out of the compression to the upside. A red dot would be when it's breaking below the compression. And gray means that the stock is out of the compression. And sometimes you'll go from yellow to gray, and it just means that the stock is easing out of the compression as opposed to exploding out of it. So now that we have the technical studies out of the way and you have a feel for what you're looking at, let's go and look at some other symbols and see how they set up. Okay, for swing trade, that's a nice short right in here. You can see B means before the open, earnings were announced. So it gaps down below the 100-day moving average. This would be a nice short. You can see weakness relative to the overall market. DRI, there's your compression, there's your breakdown, again through the 100-day moving average. Just going to flip through a couple more and then we'll get into some searches. I want to use the custom search on a day like today. Negative, breakdown, that's a nice short. So let's use the custom search. I'm going to pop it up. This is a binary system. What I mean by that, toggle on, toggle off. All you have to do is figure out if you're looking for bullish trades or bearish trades. So I'm going to be running a few different searches to show you how it works, and then we'll zero in on some day trades and we'll look for some swing trades as well. I've done all the heavy lifting. I've gone in and I've optimized the indicators so that they are either bullish or bearish, and that works on all the different time frames. So right now I'm going to be focusing a little bit on some day trades. So we have the market breaking down. I want to find some bearish trades. So what I'm going to do is I will look for a compression out. It was in a compression, but now it's not, and it's broken to the downside. I'm also going to mark option liquidity. I like to trade options, and we do rate the liquidity of the options, so I'm going to use 2 as my minimum value and 10 as my maximum value. These will be liquid options. I'll also click weekly options, and we'll see what comes up on the scan, and we get an awful lot of candidates, as you might expect on a day like this where the market is really declining. So let's add some more criteria. Strength versus SPY can either be bullish or bearish. If it's bearish, obviously it's weakness versus the SPY. Let's see what we've got here. Now our list has narrowed dramatically. And some of these you're actually going to recognize. Some of these, like ABBV, we already took a look at. And let's make sure that we have a bearish trade signal. Now we can expand this and go out to a daily. Let's try that. Let's look at some of the results. We've got about 15 to click through, and let's see what we like. I'm going to move this out of the field of view so that I can very quickly click through the candidates, and we'll be looking on a daily basis. And then once I see something I like on a daily basis, I can be pretty confident that I can find a day trading opportunity as well. So for right now, AFL, too choppy. Don't like it. I need to see a nice tight trading pattern in the stock. AMAT, I don't really have much going on here. It hasn't broken through any major support levels, so not that interested in it. BA is starting to set up here. This has been a very strong stock, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to set a GTC alert. So if I log off the platform and log back on, won't matter. When this price level is breached, I'm going to know about it. So I can't say that the trade is quite there yet, but when it is, I'll know about it. BBY getting very close below that 100-day moving average. I'm interested. So GTC, put that right there, just at that 100-day moving average. If it breaks it, I'm going to know about it. Again, these are all stocks with liquid options. We've got a breakdown right there, so this stock might be set up right now. Bank of New York, and you can see we've got a steady decline here. And on a 5-minute basis, we've got a negative trade signal here, and we've got a little bit of a positive pressure here. So this might be a good short, but I'd like to see it off of this low and starting to reverse that low. Then I would feel a little bit more comfortable getting into that short, but I do like it as a short on a longer term basis. Go back to the daily chart. Let's keep looking for something that looks good right here. CSX starting to roll over, trade signal through horizontal support there. We've got the 100-day moving average coming into play pretty quickly, so the downside is fairly limited at this point. I wouldn't like it. eBay has been rolling over steadily. You can see weakness relative to the S&P 500. This is actually, it's had some upward pressure on it. This may not be a bad short. A little bit choppy today. I'm not going to put a GTC alert on it. Just do one for the day. If it breaks through that support today, I'd be interested in it. Facebook broke down through this 100-day moving average, sold off hard. It's actually down today. It's still holding these recent lows, so we should see some buying coming in at this level right here. And I'll put just a day alert on it. If it breaks that low right here, so this is where the stock opened and then it closed on its high of the day. If it breaks below that, I might be interested, but I think that even with the big decline, and there's an alert right there, eBay went below 41.14, so all I have to do is click on it, and there's the chart, and then I can look at it. That's how the alerts work. They'll take you right to the stock. So I would try a little short in here on eBay. You can also add multiple charts. So let's do that right now. And I'm going to take this and just keep it on the SPY. This is a 5-minute chart, so I can see that the S&P 500 is dropping. I'm also going to move this off screen. I always like to have a chart of the SPY because I need to know what the overall market is doing. So I'm going to expand and I'm going to move it off screen. So we've got the market continuing to drop, and that's why eBay is also continuing to fall. GLW, nice steady decline, weak relative to the market. Take a look at the daily. It's near major horizontal support, so I'm not overly interested in this play. And on a daily basis, you can see how the stock is actually performing well relative to the market. Google. Google through the 100-day moving average. It's broken this uptrend line. I can draw a trend line on this stock very easily. I can draw a 20-day trend line. Excuse me, that's a 200 or 120-day trend line. I'm just going to click and select TL20. You can see a downward sloping trend line, and on the 60-day you can see an upward sloping trend line that's been breached. The computer program draws this automatically. So we've got a trend line breach, we've got a major moving average breach, we have weakness relative to the market, we have all the makings of a good trade here. Horizontal support that it's breaching right here. I'm going to take the trend lines off to clear the chart a little bit, and I'm going to put an alert right at that low. If it gets through that low of the day, I'm interested. And let's take a look at the 5-minute chart. Yes, drifting lower. We're going to keep taking a look at some of these other candidates. That's a nasty little breakdown. This is overstock.com, OSTK. And on the daily chart, don't see anything that makes me want to short this right now. We've had a little bit of a drop and a bounce in the stock, so it should be finding support in here. These are the types of things that I look for. This stock has been in a steady drift lower, and it's been weak relative to the market. This is probably not a bad short. We can overlay the SPY, and there you can see the market's been down. Stock has been down with it, but this is what's interesting. You see how the market was rallying, but this stock had pressure already. It was dripping lower. So I'll take that overlay off. We'll take a look at the next one. I like this one. This stock has been very strong relative to the market. It's in the beginning stages of starting to weaken, and it's below that compression right here. So it's got lots of room to drop. And it's below that. But the stock does have buyers. I'm going to put up that SPY. You can see this orange line is above 0. So that means it's been strong relative to the market. But that strength is starting to wane. And let's take a look at the SPY overlay, and then you'll be able to see market down, stock compressing, relative strength. We typically love this setup. And I think I might have used it in one of my other videos, but the play there would have been to place a GTC alert right there. And if it breaks out to the upside, then you're probably buying calls, because a compression like that would fuel that rally. So we're going to keep going through. STK, I think, could be a nice short in here, though. You can see how it took out the low from the prior day, took out the low today, and it's continuing to go down. You can see here also that it's on a sell signal on a 5-minute basis, and you've got the pressure to the upside. So this is a divergence. Remember, pressure to the upside, but on a sell signal, big negative. So I like STK on a bearish basis here. So it looks good on the daily chart, which sets it up well for a day trade also. And for most of my day trades, I'm looking for something on a longer term chart that gets me interested in the stock. And once I know that I like the position on a swing basis or an overnight basis, it makes it much easier for me to day trade it, because I know if the position is moving my way and it really performed well, that I can hang on to the position overnight and perhaps ride it for another day or two, or I can decide to take profits on the trade. This I would not short because it's got support right at that 100-day moving average it's coming up on. UAL, it's got this little horizontal support. It's been pretty strong relative to the market, so this would not be a favorite short. UNG. So this is the process. This is a nice breakdown right here. And continued weakness. It's been weak relative to the market. It's got some pretty good potential. I'd like to see it in a compression so that I'm getting these options at a pretty good value. Once the stock compresses, the implied volatilities tend to come in. It's got to get through that 100-day moving average, so I wouldn't be looking at it. That's pretty nice. And this is XME. I'm going to click on stock. That's the mining, metals and mining segment. So I've got all the fundamental information in the chart, or in the platform as well. So mining and metals is pretty weak. So this search was very easy to find. I just looked for weakness relative to the SPY on a 15-minute and a 5-minute basis. And then I marked I wanted to see it out of a compression, resolved to the downside. Now let's say that I want to find a stock that is relatively weak and that is in a compression. So I am going to be waiting for that breakdown to happen. Well, we can do that too. And right now we're getting no results on that. I've also got a bearish trade signal daily. So now let's see what we get. When you don't return any results on the searches, then you just have to keep narrowing your search until you start to get some results in. And there aren't too many stocks that are in a compression right now because the market is falling. So just stocks that are in a compression on a 5 and 15-minute basis. Philip Morris came up. Well, that's a defensive uh, play, cigarette makers. So yeah, I wouldn't be surprised that it's not moving too much. So we don't have much in a compression right now. Let's do another search. So we want to see if there's a stock that we'll use a pretty easy one, a bearish engulfing pattern on a daily basis with good option liquidity. Now this would have come up early in the day. You would have seen AbbVie right out of the gate. You would have seen Abbott right out of the gate because this bearish engulf happened yesterday and you had a sell signal on it yesterday as well. So you would have seen that stock in this search right away. And I can't say that you had a big gap down, so I wouldn't be shorting anything in here. You might be able to short a bounce like that, but I don't see anything in Abbott. It's been pretty stable down in here, so it wouldn't be a favorite of mine. BMY, drifting lower, got horizontal support right there. I'm going to keep looking and see if I see anything. FedEx here, earnings 2 days ago, gaps down through the 100-day moving average today, breaks horizontal support. Yeah, that's a pretty bearish one there. You can see the decline has been pretty steady today. Let's take a quick look at what the S&P is doing. And there you can see that it's fallen back and it's finding support here. The one thing I do want to point out, and something that I've been watching on the S&P, is I'm just going to overlay a 100-day moving average because it's in play right now. And that level is at 268.84. Now, we also have the 200-day moving average. It's way down here at about 258. I don't know that it'll come into play today, but it could come into play in the next few days given this breakdown right in here. What I'd like to see as a bull would be a deep trough today and a sharp reversal and a close back above that 100-day moving average. A move of that nature would be a capitulation low right here, and then the market would have probably 2 or 3 maybe days worth of follow through to the upside, maybe even a week or two. We are only a few weeks away from earnings season, so that is typically bullish. So I'm going to move this chart back off and get to my 5-minute chart so I can take a look at what the market is doing. I also hate getting short when you're in a deep trough like this. Now I do like bounces off of that low that start to fail. They start to crumble little by little. So let's stick with day trading. Let's shift gears a little bit. We know that the market's negative. We know it's weak, but let's see if we can find some stocks that might actually rally during the course of the day so that if we do get that air pocket, that we might be able to catch some bullish stocks. So I'm going to move the intraday chart off screen, and then I'm going to look. So I had marked on the scanner, I had looked for a bearish engulfing pattern on a daily chart. So let me just click on another one of these, and I'm going to go into the daily chart, and there you can see the bearish engulfing pattern yesterday. And the stock is right up near its all-time high. Bearish engulfing pattern. You would have had this first thing in the morning, and then you get the breakdown right in here. That would have been a nice trade. And you see gap down right here. And if you'd have gotten short anywhere in the open, you had a little bit of pain that you would have taken in here, but now it's starting to really drift lower. And on some of these, when you get the opening gap down in the market, I'm not going to be chasing stocks. I want things to settle in. So my approach is typically let everything play out, use that low of the day, and then when that low is breached, then you can start getting short. And you come in and you just put your alert down on that low of the day. The other thing I'll look for is if the stock happened to make a pretty big low the prior day, and let's say that the stock is weak today and it's open to the downside, but that prior day's low is still preserved, then I'll use that and I'll drop my alert right on that prior day's low. Let's say that it was somewhere in here, and I'll drop that alert with the stock still above it. And then when the stock does tick below it, I'll know that I can enter the trade. I'm going to right click on that alert line. I'm going to remove it. Sorry, I've got to delete the object so I wasn't on it. And that's how we delete it. Everything in the platform is right click driven. So pretty easy. If you've worked with Windows before, it's not going to take you long to figure that out. So I'm going to put up this custom scanner, and let's take a look and see if we can find some stocks that might be setting up for a bounce. So first of all, let's take a look for strength versus SPY. See if we can find anything. There are a couple, but these are ETFs, so there's not really anything that's showing particular strength today. So let me use another tactic. Let's see if, well, actually I had this marked as well. There is a clear button, so we can clear all. If I clear all, it will zero everything out, and that way if I've got any boxes marked that I might not spot visually, I can always clear everything. So we've got our option liquidity and our weekly options marked. And now I'm going to be looking for a bullish engulfing pattern on a daily basis, D1. And there were plenty of stocks. And so if I saw this and I came into the day, we'll just take a look at this list very quickly. If I looked at these stocks, I know that the prior day there was a very bullish event that took place. And market selling off early on the open today, there's a good chance that those bulls are still around wanting to buy that stock. So I would be looking for an early bounce in stocks like this. Let's click through the list and see what we've got. Let's spot that bullish engulfing pattern first. And there we go on ATVI. Now it wasn't much of one because we had almost a doji the day before, but still would have been okay. Still would have done fine buying that open. Let's take a look at, I know I looked at Facebook earlier today. That also would have been fine, but now it's continuing to slide. So it would have been good initially, and let's spot that engulfing pattern. And there you go right there. There's your bullish engulfing pattern. Typically very, very bullish. And we use that on a daily basis. And we'll look at one more. Tesla was another one. Let's see if that had any kind of bounce early. It did, but not much of one. And then it reversed. And then here it took out the low of the day. Once it does that, then I can short it with confidence knowing that that is my stop. So I don't see anything glaring that tells me, yes, I want to be buying these stocks. I'm going to be looking for strength versus SPY on a daily basis now. And I'm going to be looking for a bullish trade signal on a daily basis. And I'm going to be looking for, why don't we go with negative pressure, looking for that supercharged trade. Let's see if anything comes up. There are a few. So let's take a look and see what these might look like. Again, these would be longer term bullish positions that we might be able to catch on this market drop. So I'm going to start clicking through. And here we see COP. This is pretty nice. There is our bullish arrow. It's through the 100-day moving average. It's holding up well relative to the market today. We can see the strength in the orange line right there. I know I've got horizontal support here. Used to be resistance, now it's support. I would key off of that level and maybe I would sell a bullish put spread out of the money right here, and I would key off of that price level. If that price level is breached, I have to buy it back in. Or I can go down to the 100-day moving average and sell at this level and use that as a stop. Yeah, I like it. This is a good one. Took me seconds to find that. This also looks interesting. You've had strength versus the market. You've got pressure building on the upside. Stock has been able to tread water. Looks pretty good. Got horizontal support right here. Got horizontal support here. I'll put up my TL20 line. Got a nice little trend line moving higher. Looks pretty good. Keep going through the list here. Downtrend line breach to the upside, buy signal, some overhead resistance with the 100-day, strong relative to the market. Right here might not be a bad place to sell at 102, a bullish put spread. Stock's going to have fairly limited upside in here, but it does have extreme support, and that's all I really care about when I'm doing a bullish put spread. It can stay flat or move higher, and I'm happy. I just can't have it moving lower. I'm going to just skip down and we'll see if we can find something else that might be interesting. I don't like this curling over right here. Take a look at low. That's got pretty decent option liquidity. We have a compression right in here. I like compressions and I like the support there and I like the relative strength. You can see the compression in the yellow dots. So how would you approach this trade? Well, I don't have to sell a bullish put spread, although I would probably not mind doing it here. Let's put the 200-day up also. You can see that 200-day is also right down in here. I would probably key off of that since we're at 86. You should be able to sell an 84, 83 bullish put spread. And then that still gives you room in case this support fails. You got another major support level right below it. That's how you do it. Let's say that I would love to buy some calls if this market does hit that air pocket and it reverses today. Well, that's what we're trying to do with all of these searches right now is I'm trying to see if there might be some bullish trades out there. GTC, GTC buy signal, buy line. So whether it's today, tomorrow, a week, a month from now, when this stock breaks through that, I'm going to get an alert. And when I get that alert, I might still want to wait to see it get above that 100-day moving average. If it does, it's going to start filling in this gap and I can get some options on the cheap. Well, once it goes through here, it'll probably go through there. If I want to play it a little bit riskier, I can start buying my options right here, but at least I know. Then I can reset my alert to the 100-day moving average if I want. Take a look at the market. Still drifting lower. So let's take a look at some more candidates on this, and then I'll refresh the search. No, I wouldn't touch that. I want to see something that's compressing nicely right now. That had a nice compression. It's flirting with that 100-day, but it's got to get through the 200-day. Nah, no thanks. Incredible strength in here. Strong versus the market, starting to roll over. Nah, might fit the other criteria, but I'm not too interested in that. UNP, resistance, horizontal resistance right here that it would have to get through. It's got good strength versus the market. It's been able to ride above that 100-day moving average. So yes, if I'm looking for a good trade to get bullish on, I would buy above that line with the idea that it's going to be able to get through that resistance if the market finds its footing and really starts to run. VLO, beautiful, nice compression above the 100-day, good relative strength. I've got pressure on the negative side here, yet the stock has been able to move higher. I like it. This is going to be a good one. On a bloodbath day like today, it's treading water. It wants to go. So yeah, get through that high. I want to see it. VXX, that should look real good. market down, volatility up. Everything here looks pretty good. This is a contra play, so you would have to be bearish on the market. So you would not necessarily be wanting to buy this if you're looking for a bullish trade. So we're going to move on. And I'm just going to go down to one more, Walmart. Walmart compressing on that 200-day moving average, buy signal. I'd like to see this a little bit higher, meaning I want to see some buying pressure come in, but it's been strong relative to the market. I believe this stock is going to rally like mad when the market rallies. So I'm going to put a GTC alert right above this compression. When that happens, I'm in. I'm all over it. So let me go over the search criteria. We looked for negative pressure on a daily basis. We looked for a bullish trade signal. We looked for strength versus the SPY. So many combinations that we can use. Let me go in. I'll show you how I'll find a bearish trade today. So now I'm going to be looking for a bearish TL60, trendline 60. So this is on 5-minute bars. 65-minute bars is roughly about 5 hours worth of trading. So this thing has been negative for the last 5 hours, but I'm going to be looking for a bullish trend line, and even better on a 20-minute. So on a shorter time frame, I'm going to be looking for that up trend line. But what I can do that would be even better is a trend line breach. So let's say that the little 20 period uptrend line is sloping upwards, but now it's been breached. That would be bearish. So let me recap what we're going to be seeing here. We're going to be seeing a negative trend lower, a little bounce that has failed. That's the easiest way to think about this. So let me make sure I don't have any other boxes marked, and let's see what we've got. So this will allow us to join that downward pressure. Remember how I was saying I'd like to short a stock on a bounce? Well, let's take a look at what we've got. Oh yeah, breakdown below that, filling in the gap. Oh yeah. Now, there we go. I'm going to take off the buy signal for a second because I want to use the trend lines a little bit more. So I'm going to put up trend line 60. And I'm going to put up a trend line 20. So there's your 60. Now at one point that this trend line probably just shifted to bearish, but it's okay. So it was upward sloping for a second and the stock had been below it. So now I know that I've got a good candidate. Would I buy it right now? Probably not, but you know what? It's been compressing right here. If it can get through that support, I want to see it. So let's look at the next one. And a couple of these, like DHI, came up on our longer term list. So you've got your TL60 downward sloping. It bounces, so you've got a positive sloped TL20, but the stock is below it. So that would be a bearish TL20 breach. Anytime we're below it, it would be a breach. We'll keep looking. Not much of a bounce. I'm looking for more of a bounce. We can see our TL60 is negative and it's way up here. I'd like to see more of a bounce out of the stock. That's not a bad bounce. I'll also take off the SMAs real quick here. I can just clear them. And so you've got downward sloping, longer term trend line. You've got a little bit of a bounce happening in the stock, and the stock is below that trend line. So this could be a very nice short. Let's look at the daily. got to get through this horizontal support right here, and we kind of are. Now I do want to actually add those SMAs back to see if there's anything giving us trouble. Not really. 50, 100 day, 200 day, not a problem. So this is not bad. And we've got a little bit of a breakdown here. We've got some support right in here, but really nothing else to hold this stock up right now. It has been strong relative to the market recently, so that's a little bit of a problem. Let's take a look at that daily chart again. For day trading, if it breaks below this, I would be interested in it. Just for a day trade, I know that if I shorted at 157.60, if I can buy it back around 157, I might have a nice little trade. It's got very liquid options, so I might even choose to day trade the options on something like this. We'll go back into the daily chart, take a look, see what else we've got. So we've got Starbucks, and it's drifting lower. We've got horizontal support right in there. We've got SMA 200, a little bit of support there, support there. This stock does not make big moves. Can't say, got some support right in here from these major moving averages. I'm not overly interested in that. Chart's getting a little messy, so let's take some of that off. We'll take the TLs off, and we'll see if we've got one more here that might set up. This looks pretty good. Now we did have a bullish engulfing pattern, and we saw that yesterday, but now we're back below that low from yesterday, and we're probably below some major moving averages. We are, so that's good. And so that might set up for a decent bearish trade. Stock has been weak relative to the market. We got some upward pressure, but the stock is drifting lower. So let's take a look at the 5-minute chart, see what that tells us. Put the TLs back up. You can visually see that the TL20 can be a little bit upward sloping. So there's your downward slope. There's your upward slope. There's your breach. Alert. I would rather see a bigger bounce before I short. I'd rather see one up to that TL 60 line, but given that the market has been so weak today, I'm not seeing that in any of the searches right now. And here you can see how the market's just been down, 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 getting a little bit of buying right in here. So that's another search that you can, or another way that you can search for a bearish trade. You're looking for that longer term downward trend line. And I'll use another search here. I'm going to see a lot of the same results right in here. I'm going to use a little bit different time frame, and I'm going to look for Facebook is one that we had put an alert on. You can see the alert come up in the lower window. Facebook went below 164.41. Hey Pete, you remember that short that you were considering? Well, it's back. And now I know it might be time to get short Facebook. And we already looked at this, so we know it's a decent short. So everything's still intact. We've got weakness relative to the market on a 5-minute basis. We have that positive momentum or pressure that I was talking about. And the stock is currently on a sell signal. We've got everything we need for a good trade. We see the market bouncing a little bit right now, but not the stock. That's a big clue. That's our edge. There's the SPY, just overlaid it. See how the SPY is curling higher right now? What's the stock doing? It's selling off. Not a good sign. Now it is near that low, I believe, from the prior day, so we have to be careful of that. You want really to take these support levels out. There were buyers there yesterday. Maybe they're still around. So let's do this. Let's put one more alert out here on it and say, yeah, it's got to get through the low from yesterday. And let's scroll back and make sure there's not a more significant low that would be in play. There are a couple. This stock has been pounded. So I'm going to set a couple of alerts. That way, if I ignore this one when it comes up, I still have this. This would be a major one right here. If that's breached or violated, I'm actually going to delete that because I want to make sure that is a GTC alert. So on that line, I've got to click on it, and then I have to delete it. Actually, I'm just going to throw a GTC alert on top of it. It'll be fine. So I've got multiple alerts. If they're breached, then I'm going to know about it. So let's go back to the scanner. We were taking a look at some other possible ways to find a good bearish trade. So right now, one of the things I'm going to be looking for is we can just go bearish. Let's see bearish trade signal for H1 through M5. Let's see what comes up. It's going to be a ton because the market's been so weak. So I've got to narrow this search in some way, shape, or form. So let's see if we've got any of these that are super, super bearish that are maybe in a compression. That would be nice. There are a few. Let's see if we can expand that compression to a 15-minute. Only one, MA, and we looked at that one earlier. Let's look at it one more time on a 5-minute basis. We know it's on a 15-minute compression and a 5-minute compression. So we do need to see a breakdown here for us to want to short it. Take these TLs off here, clear the chart up a little bit, take the SPY off. SPY overlay is really nice to have. Then you can always see what the stock is doing relative to the market. So I wasn't able to find anything with multiple compressions like that. So I'm going to look for relative weakness versus the market, and I'll run another scan, and I'm going to show you the results here. So we know the stock is on a negative trade signal. We also know the stock has been weak relative to the S&P, and here are our stocks. Some of these we've seen. Take another look. ADBE, Adobe. Take a look at the daily here. So this stock has fallen hard. It looks like it's trying to bounce right here. A bounce anywhere to that low from the day would be pretty interesting to me when it starts to roll over and fail again, especially on a sell signal. And we'll take a look at the daily chart. It's been very strong relative to the market, but it's starting to soften up. ATVI, looked at earlier today. This has been weak relative to the market, and let's see what we got. Boy, that stock is just grinding lower. Put that SPY overlay over it again. And so with this bounce here in the market, you would expect the stock to bounce. It's not. That tells me right here we got good selling pressure. Weak relative to the market right now. We have upward pressure on it, yet the stock is able to go lower. This is our supercharge right here. This is a good short right here and right now. Don't even have to wait on it. BA, compressing down here, so I would not want to short on a compression. That to me might be a sign that it's ready to move higher. So wouldn't be overly anxious on this. If I really like to short on a daily basis, we've got our line right there. And I don't really like the short on a swing basis right here until it can get through that support line. eBay, negative right now on a 5-minute basis. Market pops, stock still on that low. PayPal, gap lower, weak relative to the market. We've got our supercharge right there. Stock was able to find some support while the market bounced in here, but as soon as it takes out that low, it's going to stage another leg lower, so I'll drop an alert there. And let's take a look on a daily basis and see what we're working with here. A little bit of a breakdown. This is what I call a failed breakout. Broke out to the upside. That should be support. Now it's failed. We'll throw up a couple of SMAs to see if the stock is breaching anything major. 200, 100, it's close to the 100, so I'm not overly bearish on that. I don't have much downside until it finds support. So I'm not interested. This is the routine. This is what you have to go through for every trade. And when you get good at it, it doesn't take long. But you have to go through this process and you have to know what obstacles might lie ahead. This is a nice compression and a nice breakdown on a daily basis. You've got that bullish um, pressure on the stock, and you've got a sell arrow. So this is the holy grail. This is what we look for. You got that breakdown, negative relative to SPY. Take a look at the daily chart. Down, down, down. And look at that. Really upward pressure on it, but the stock can't hold its own, weak relative to the market. This is a good short. Put that SPY overlay on. Just a simple toggle on, toggle off. And there you can see no bounce with the market. So that was another search that we used. I mean, they're candidates left and right. And these are the criteria. On a bearish signal across H1, M30, M15, M5, plus we have weakness versus the market, and we've got good option liquidity. Those are our candidates. We just knock through each one and take a look at it. One of the things that I like to look at also, and I'm going to take a couple of these off because I want to open up some search results, is I want to see a buying, like an upward pressure climax on this thing. Let's see if we return anything, because now, not on a day like today. There's not that kind of upward pressure right now. Maybe on a 5-minute basis, but I don't think we're going to see it. We can also use volume. We can also look at the percent of the daily range. Aha, PayPal. There's my alert. It's breaking through that support, ready for a short. By the way, I don't want to really do a short right now, but if I wanted to, I could just click sell and I could click it right here so that instead of having an alert, it would be a sell short stop. And I'm going to put it way up here because I doing this in a platform that I don't have configured, but you can just drop lines right on the chart and it will trade the underlying stock. So if I place the line above the current price, it will be a sell limit order. If I place it below the current price, it is a sell stop order. The system knows what to do with it. If I'm long a position and I put a sell arrow up, it'll know to liquidate the position. So it looks for a position first. Super, super easy to trade through the platform. Day trading stock by design. That's what we do. We also trade options, but made it super easy to do the stock. The options are a little bit more difficult programmatically. So a lot of what we do is a stock because it's much more liquid for day trading. But this would be a nice short in here. And let's take a look at the market. And the market is compressing. So I wouldn't be too aggressive until I know that the market is going to sell off. Personally, for day trades, I'm not going to be shorting down here. Getting long or getting short on compressions, just not worth it. You want to wait for this to be resolved one way or the other. So what I'd really be looking for, I would want a bounce off of this support level, maybe up to this low, prior low of the day, and then I'd want it to just start fading a little bit. Then I can start taking shorts on some of the stocks that I've looked at, particularly if they're breaching the short levels where I already have alerts set. But I might as well let this compression be resolved one way or the other and then make a decision. So if it breaks to the downside, awesome, I'll get an alert. If it breaks to the upside, no problem. I'll set another alert right up there. So I'll know either way when the market's out of that compression, and then I'll know how I want to day trade from that point on. So many combinations that I could show you on this scanner. I'm going to conclude this video just because it's going to be too lengthy if I continue with it. So I'm going to stop it for right now, and I'll just show you some of the things that we used for this combination: negative trade signal, negative versus the SPY. We were looking for some bullish climax, some like a huge amount of buying pressure. Didn't find it. I know I could probably mark this pressure indicator and find a couple of stocks that might conform. There was one, Alta. Hey, let's take a look at it. Might be a good short. Oh yeah, drifting lower. There we've got the pressure on the upside. We have our sell signal way up here, giving back some of that spike on the earnings announcement. It's got some support probably right here at that opening price, but yeah, it's been pulling back pretty steadily. So I think this is going to be a nice short. I hope this has given you some insight into the platform and mainly the custom search engine. Here's the takeaway. It'll find whatever you're looking for. The more you use it, the more you're going to find within it. And this is so easy because it's just toggle on, toggle off. It's all binary, meaning yes, no. That's how supercomputers work, zeros and ones. So I've made this so easy to use. There are other criteria that you can use. I didn't even talk about earnings. My God, there were some earnings today. I can see anything that has announced earnings. I'm going to clear all. And these will be your post earnings plays right here. So if you like to trade earnings, I'll run a scan. These companies all announced earnings either after the close yesterday or before the open today. So then when we're in earnings season, which this is a quiet period, then I could start using all of these other criteria. For instance, hey, show me a stock that just released earnings, is greater than its prior day's high, and that's currently in a 5-minute compression or a 10-15-minute compression. Hey, this would probably be a good stock. It wanted to move higher after earnings and it's compressing. That might be a good time to enter some option trades. If the move's big enough, it might even be one where I want to buy some out of the money weekly calls on it. So there's so much. I'm going to continue to do some videos and show you all the benefits of it. In seconds, you can find really, really good trades. Thank you.